Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us in Prevue's webinar, Meeting Design for Next Gen Attendees, A Fresh Approach. My name is Lydia Gregory, and I'm the Senior Editor for Prevue Magazine, and I will be your moderator today. So before we start, I'd love to see in the chat who's joining us and from where. So let's see if anybody is hello. Hi, how are you doing from Orlando? Great to see you. So today we'll be to Miami, Melanie from Georgia. Here we have Carrie from Canton, Ohio, Boise, New Hampshire, California, Chicago. Oh, awesome. We're everywhere. Palo Alto, California, Rochester, New York, Charmaine, Nashville, New Jersey, Columbus. Brilliant. So we are coast to coast today. So today we'll be talking about some effective ways to capture the next generation of attendees, more specifically Gen Z and millennials. So what resonates with them? What will they be expecting? And how are they changing the way that meetings are held? So today we're very fortunate to have three special guests with us, meeting and event planners who will share their experiences and insights into this growing demographic. So joining us today are Michelle Holdeman, VP Sales and Development at Food for Thought. Hi, Michelle. We
Hi,
have
everyone.
we have Emily Parsons Walker, Event Specialist at Site Global. Hello, Emily. Welcome.
Hi.
And we have Patricia Valerio, Meeting Supervisor at Eversana. Hello, Patricia. Thanks for joining.
Hi there.
And we will be having them introduce themselves in a minute. But first, we want to thank our sponsor partners, Caribe Royale Orlando, Voyages, Charters, Meetings and Incentives, Destination Toronto, Fiesta Americana Travel Team Meetings and Events, and Soliman Productions, Inc. So thank you, sponsors, for making this webinar happen. A couple of housekeeping things. Today's session will be recorded and you will receive a link via email. So don't worry if you miss something. And as with all Prevue webinars, you will receive one CEU from the Events Industry Council. There's a white paper available as well in the chat and on our website. And also, please feel free to submit your questions at any point during the chat. We'll get to as many as possible as we're wrapping up at the end. And let's see, finally, in honor of National Meeting Planner Appreciation Day, we're thrilled to announce a special giveaway running through June 5th, 2025. You can apply now for an all expenses paid trip to our exclusive Meetwell Summit to be held August 4th through 6th at the Inn at Celebration and Autograph Collection in Celebration, Florida. This will be a transformative experience designed with your well-being in mind, and we can't wait for you to join us. So you can fill out the application using the QR code that's on your screen right now. To use the QR code, open your camera app, point it at the code, and click on the link that pops up. So let's get this webinar started with a quick intro from each of our guests. Michelle, good morning. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning. Hey, everyone. I am Michelle Holdeman, VP of Sales for Food for Thought. We have been in business 42 years. Our home base, Chicago, Illinois. We service the Chicago metro area, but also anywhere from Arizona to Washington, D.C., and anywhere in between, capabilities to go outside of the state as well. So we do catering. This is going to be events such as galas, meetings, nonprofit events. We do workspace solutions. This is going to be drop-off catering, conventions, events in office buildings. We also do cafe management. This is going to be in office buildings, in museums, other environments where we come in and do daily food service for a group of guests. So anywhere from a tent, an office, in a random parking lot to a venue or museum, we are all over the place, can come in and make the event happen.
Awesome, Michelle. Thank you very much. Patricia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Patricia Valerio. I'm a meeting supervisor at Eversana. I'm from New Jersey. And most of my experience in the meeting industry is pharmaceutical in nature. I've worked with some really great companies on some really great marketing events, conference attendances, and working on a launch right now. And that's been really an amazing experience as well.
Wow, fantastic. Congratulations, Patricia. Emily, tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Parsons Walker. I am an event specialist with Site Global. So we focus on the incentive industry and creating events where hosted buyers and suppliers can come together and create business opportunities. I've been in the industry almost 6 years, mostly in associations. So I've been in government associations as well as event industry associations. So a little bit of both. And part of my like why I love this industry and kind of why I love my job is I love how creative we get to be. One of my favorite things is how we can be creative in incorporating community service into events. So that would probably be my biggest passion.
Wonderful. Wow, we really have a powerhouse team, you guys. So thank you so much for being here, to you and to our attendees. So let's go ahead and jump into our questions. So first question, are we seeing more next gen attendees at meetings and conventions? Patricia, do you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, I would say we are from my point of view in the pharmaceutical space. We get to go to these medical education events, and it's been really a privilege to kind of see that like passing down and passing the baton of information from some of these legacy healthcare practitioners to some of these newer, younger millennial Gen Z residents and attendees. So I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Fantastic. Michelle, are you seeing more next gen attendees in meetings and conventions?
We are, yeah. I would say, probably more than half of the attendees are, and really prediction that to just blow up and expand over the next 5 years. And I think the key is in-person events, but then also digital. So I think a lot of the next gen really likes to have a digital option as well, which has been really, really big and different. And really the key we're seeing is blending the past generations with the next gen. How do you make everybody comfortable? How do you make everybody involved? Because they all feel it, see it, and want it with different ways. So how do you not alienate one generation, but then keep everybody kind of comfortable and happy? And I think a lot of that is just on education and explaining to them, why they should come and why they're here and should they attend digital or live.
Right. Are you seeing something similar, Emily?
Something similar, and I agree with what Michelle was saying. I think the biggest thing when pitching these events to the next generation is what they're going to get out of it. Um, I am probably on this panel your resident Gen Zer. And so when I'm looking at different events, like I want to know what I'm going to be walking away with, whether that's like more information, networking opportunities. Like I want to be completely in the know of what's going on, what I'm going to walk away with, and how it's going to benefit my career.
Gotcha. So next question, what could some of the factors be that would stop a millennial or a Gen Z professional from attending these conventions or conferences? And we're talking like financial, that maybe they feel they're lower on the totem pole at work, or they're nervous or intimidated. Michelle, do you want to hop on that one?
Yeah, and I think Emily was just kind of hitting on that. I think they want to see the value, right? They're going to see how attending benefits them. So, and not just the actual event they're attending, but what are other opportunities around that event that they can expose them to? Is it a cultural experience from the city they're visiting? Is it, restaurants or museum they can visit? So really, I think planners need to really pay attention to how well of a job they're doing promoting the event and what everything they can get and expose them to. Absolutely, I think people feeling nervous or intimidated. And I think, again, that education component and being able to tell them how this is going to help their future self, how they're going to get to where they want to go and what their goals are. And then really, next gen, how are we going to maximize their time? I think they're looking for ease. They're looking for efficiency. They're looking for that kind of overall benefit. So just everyone doing a better job explaining, again, what they're going to get out of it.
Emily, as a resident Gen Zer, would you agree?
I would definitely also say I think that in some segments of different industries, we are seeing a lower attendance from next gen just because they are lower on the totem pole. but that's where I would tell people, like, be an advocate for yourself, find ways. A lot of places offer scholarships. Make the business case. One of the things that we do, and I know a lot of other places do, is like a convince your boss letter. So as a planning team and a marketing team, we put together a letter that people can just give to their boss and be like, this is what can be amazing and what I can bring back to the table to share with the team. So just being the self advocate, I've been lucky enough to have great supervisors in the past that have been supportive of me going to continuing education and going to these conferences. So just planting that seed with their supervisor from the beginning, that that's something that they want to do, I think is super important in getting it put into the budget and getting them on these trips.
Right. I saw you shaking, nodding your head, not shaking, nodding, nodding your head, Patricia. Do you agree with us?
Yeah, no, I love that you brought up scholarships because certainly there is a financial component associated with most meetings, and that is something that might deter the younger audience. And I love the convince your boss letter. I think that's genius because I think the big thing to both of your points, Michelle and Emily, is when you're starting out in your career, like there might be a feeling of like imposter syndrome there, and wanting to not even necessarily take time off because you don't want to take that time away from work. You're trying to prove yourself in your at your company and in your industry. So I feel like one of the biggest things that you all could do for next gen attendees is make them feel that by attending your event, they're not going to fall behind at work. Your event is going to get them ahead. Um, is I think the biggest takeaway from that.
Right. It's an added plus. It's not a minus to take time away for this type of event. So next question, what would you say are the primary things next gen attendees want to experience at a meeting or convention? And we're looking at engagement and networking, more downtime. Do they want more immersive and hands-on content? Do they want shorter sessions, different hotels, amazing technographics during presentations, speakers? What do you think, Emily? What are your thoughts on this? What are they looking for?
Oh gosh, I love a lot of what you just said. So a couple of like the big hitters for me, immersive activities are definitely one, whether that's cultural, immersive within just the conference itself. Just creating those memorable moments, I think, is something that's super important, because it's going to keep people coming back, but also making a twist on it. So it's a social media moment. I know I'm one of those, I'm like, I hate saying it, but I'm totally that person. Like if there's an Instagrammable moment, I'm gonna like be all over it while I'm there.
Right.
But so another piece that you brought up that I think is really good is the shorter sessions. Gen Z, it's been proven that we have a shorter attention span. So the hour and a half long sessions just don't work for us. Maybe looking at more of like a 30-minute to a 45-minute like hot topic hit type thing. I think those are what's going to attract that generation more.
So Michelle, looking at this, and you work with food, I would think that food is like a huge part that could really draw people in when you offer something new, something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're seeing is, I think someone used the word immersive and activation. So people don't really just want to walk up to a table anymore and get a cup of coffee or get, a plate of food. What we're really seeing is incorporating what we would call more of an activation. So they want to walk up to a martini wall, but maybe they're pouring the martini themselves. Maybe there's a server walking around the room, with a welcome breakfast cocktail or mocktail, and it's coming from a server with an umbrella, and you've got to grab the drink off of the umbrella. There's a cooler where they have to open the top and grab their beverage or salad from the cooler. So just really being a part of the experience. We're finding they love to have options. They want to have variety. They want to have toppings. They want a choice in what they're eating, but also how it's presented. I think we talked a little bit about that Instagrammable moment. Absolutely. They want people to know that they're there. They want people to know why they're there. And they want to know in real time, this is fun. This is something I haven't done before. Maybe the first event was at a hotel. Maybe the second event is at an art gallery. Maybe that next event, and this might be more difficult to get transportation and move them from place to place, or move them in a central building from the second floor to the fifth floor, or the conference room to another room with windows. But that kind of excitement and movement at the end of the day is really what they're going to remember. With food, we're seeing a lot of like global influences. We're seeing a lot of like adventurous food, a lot more adventurous eaters, variety. But then there's also the kind of favorite comfort food, but comfort food not as you know it, comfort food with an upscale twist. Something you had as a child, like macaroni and cheese, but it's way elevated.
But make it lobster.
Right. Add in lobster, give them a topping, give them a choice of what they can put
Right.
on. The other big thing we're seeing is branding. So using a meeting and food to really showcase what the mission of the meeting convention is, putting a company logo on something, having the food displayed instead of a table, but on like a cart, where the front panel of the cart has a logo, a picture, a QR code, a something on it, and maybe that cart moves throughout the event. So at breakfast, it's over here. By dinner time, it's downstairs. Also, you touched on, shorter meetings and events, which absolutely we see that. Also seeing people want to really be able to sit down in those small groups and feel like they can talk to a real life example person of who they could become and really relate to them. Kind of that concept of authenticity, and really just being able to sit and chat with, Emily, Patricia, whoever it is, that they could be them in a couple years, or this guest, they can understand and be comfortable having those small group chats. And I think that's really important too, is just kind of that comfort level with them.
Patricia, with pharmaceutical being such a huge part of the mice industry, are you seeing these things as well?
Yeah, I think both of those are really good points. Like, the Gen Z is an experiential generation. Like, it is not enough to just, have a really good cup of coffee, as you pointed out. Like, maybe there is a DIY component to that. I like how you touched on branding, Michelle. Like, that's something that I've seen at an event that I think is really cool, especially when they're able to do something like that in front of you, like print a company's name on the foam of the coffee. Like, that's really cool. And just being able to see the process is certainly something that lends itself to social media and people just like taking that outside of the conference with them. And then I think something else that Emily touched on that I think is really an important part of the experience is those shorter session times and downtime. I know that's like tricky because you want to pack everything you can in, you want to satisfy all of your sponsors for the event and make sure they're getting the face time they want with attendees. But I think some of the most valuable face time maybe even comes from those organic interactions that happen when there is more downtime. And I think that is something that is really important to the next generation.
So you see, interestingly enough, we didn't really talk much about like amazing technographics and, big like firework type things. And it was more of the immersive experiential thing. Like it's more human touch, small groups, that type of thing. So I love this question. I
Yeah,
really did.
I had one more thing that
Yeah.
Michelle and Patricia both jogged my memory on. Speaking on food, because I feel like that is just such a big portion of events in general, like just life in general. We all center most of our days around meals. And so one thing that I think the next generation, I know me specifically, looks for is more of the wellness aspect of food, but not your traditional wellness, like not just like the wellness shots. For example, I was just in Abu Dhabi for our global visit, or our global site visit. And on the breakfast buffet, they had camel's milk. And I was like, okay, interesting. I've never had camel's milk. I'm going to try it. But not only did they have it, but they had an explanation as to the health benefits behind camel's milk. So I think stuff like that, the mushroom coffee, you're seeing a lot of these more like sober, curious, functional drinks, rather than serving, your typical alcoholic beverage at a reception. So I think having those, but also having the explanation and the benefits behind why you're serving it, I think is super, super important for this next generation.
And going off what Emily said too, I think what's also we're seeing a lot of is like they want to know, can you supply eco-friendly material? So whether it's disposables, where was your coffee sourced? Is it local? Are you using a local vendor? Can you use someone in the community, right? How sustainable maybe is the company or food that you're getting? That's also something really important. How is the company utilizing waste? And those kind of explanations, in addition to the health benefits that Emily mentioned, I think they're just knowledgeable, and I think they really like to soak in that knowledge and understand the why behind something is offering or why they're ingesting it. And then with the small group sessions and the need for taking breaks, the other thing we've seen a lot of is like a small break for like a mini yoga class, or like a small break for like a wellness check-in, or just kind of like some downtime of like a 15-minute, like, let's regroup, let's do me, I need a couple minutes by myself before I jump back in, with my group. So
Great. So actually, our next question was going to be all about food choices and food, but I think that we should talk a little bit about this wellness component that you guys brought up. So these mini wellness breaks for both mind and body, they seem like really important. Patricia, are you seeing any of these in your planning?
Yeah,
Or
I think wellness, both like I said, organic and these like manufactured moments is really important. And certainly I think that goes back to something like an attendee of this generation like might want to see in an event that they go to. You want to feel like your values are represented, feel good about where you're going. So I'm really happy you brought up sustainability, Michelle, because I think that's a really awesome one too. And I'm happy to hear that more people are caring about that. My background, I have a degree in sustainability, actually. Um,
Fantastic.
so it makes me really happy to hear that, because I feel like sometimes sustainability is pitched as this divisive political topic, and I don't really think it is. I don't think there's anything more common than the earth that we all share and the longevity of it. So, just seeing values like that represented in meetings, that's something that I love about this generation.
Michelle, you work with food. Do you see this? I mean, I'm sure you see this need for, what are you going to do with the waste? What are you going to do with, what your utensils are you using and that type of stuff within this whole sustainability segment?
yeah, I mean, eco-friendly disposables, that's one area. Not always doing water bottles. So having, water dispensers and things like that. You can also partner with, companies in any city that you can compost food, leftover food. You can also partner with them to come pick up leftover food and donate it to somewhere. So that's a great give back, feel good moment, but also, utilizing the entire product. You have an event for 600 people and only 300 show up. There's a lot of food left over. So how can we utilize all of that is huge. And I think we hinted on like not as many maybe interested in cocktails, which absolutely we're seeing that too. Mocktails, super hot. How can I get a mocktail, a coffee drink, baristas? I mean, also like so popular, and they don't just want a latte. You don't just want a cup of decaf coffee. Yeah, I want the camel milk. What does that taste like? Or what else can I put? Can I put a lavender syrup in it? Can I put a sprig of rosemary in the top? I mean, that's really the level of interest, and promoting some of these things in advance of the event, I think is huge. To get that engagement, to get that excitement build, and to get some of these next gen employees or guests to want to attend, right? You got to kind of drive that nature. So utilizing this from the pre-marketing of the event all the way through the event and even post.
And like the cherry on the cake would be that all of these drinks, all these mocktails, these foods, these presentations, they're all Instagram worthy, right? So they're all going to be all over everybody's Instagram. And if you market them previously with these beautiful pictures, then they're going to be engaged to want to come in. So let's pop on to the next question. Do next gen attendees worry about their wardrobes And can they or do they want to conform with a typical business casual, or do you see that they're wanting to do something different? Emily, I'm going to put that one on you for starters.
Um, I love this question because it's so true, but I also am very curious. And if any guys, men want to pop in the chat, I'd love to hear your perspective because me personally, I need a style guide. Site puts together a style guide for all of our conferences, and it's something that I think is absolutely necessary nowadays, because everybody's vision of a cocktail or a little bit elevated business casual, everyone's a little different, but also it comes, if you're comfortable dressing to impress, hey, bring it. But I think setting that standard across the board so that as I'm packing, I don't feel like I'm going to be underdressed. Maybe I'll be overdressed and I'm okay with that, but I don't want to be underdressed by any means.
So I know with Gen X, I'm Gen X, it was always a matter of I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. Do you think, Patricia, that that's something that maybe the next gen attendees would keep in mind?
I I think that this is a generation that started the workforce maybe at a time when we were all working from home, right? Um, so I don't know that I necessarily feel that, like, I think a more casual dress code is something that younger attendees are comfortable with. But I do love the idea of a style guide, Emily, and I think, like, yeah, when someone sends me a packing list before a program and a know before you go, like, that is so great because now I don't even have to think about what I'm wearing. You've just outlined what kind of outfit I need to wear to this reception and what I need to wear to this networking hour. And I know I really appreciate that. But I do like when it tends to err on the side of more casual, I think.
That's the difference between us here. That's exactly what we're discussing. Michelle, how do you feel about this topic with the more casual versus the dressier? I love the style guide idea, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of mood boards. So same thing as a style guide, right? And so a lot of times where you pick a theme or you pick 2 or 3 colors and say these are what you want you to come in, right? It doesn't have to be your entire outfit is yellow, right? You could wear a hat, you could wear a necklace. I think it makes people feel less intimidated to show up and interact. And I think when you're more comfortable, you're going to engage more, which is really the end goal here. One of our favorite events, recently is we made it real casual. We were like yoga pants, workout gear. This was a breakfast. Like, come on out. Like,
Right.
the rave reviews from this event, I mean, it really was remarkable. I was like, are people really going to show up, in like yoga pants? Like, no way. And I'm like, I'm going to be the only one in yoga pants. Are you kidding? They're all in yoga pants. And they were like, this is amazing. I'm just carefree. I'm being me. I'm being like my true self. So you can really spin that wellness and that comfort into the event and the attire. So love this. And I mean, what is business casual these days, right? Nobody even knows, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, business casual has taken a total turn, and I think everybody still looks put together. Business casual doesn't mean ratty. I think even if you're wearing yoga pants, a nice yoga outfit or whatever, you're still put together. You're comfortable, you're being you, and you still look good and presentable because after all, at the end of the day, it still is business. So I love all these ideas. I love the style guide. And I love the mood board and the themes because people, I think, feel more a part of everything if you're all in cowboy gear or you're, I don't know, 60s gear, whatever, hippies or whatever it is. But our next question is it important for planners to host a welcome to newbies kind of event as part of their overall event? What do you think, Patricia?
I think if budget allows for that, I think it's an awesome idea. I also think there are opportunities to have newbies feel welcome without having an outright event for it. I think of when I think back to events that I've been an attendee at, I think about like the closer connections I made. And generally it's someone that like I met at the airport and we got in the same car, and then there's instant commonality there, right? You might have been on the same flight, you might have been coming from the same area, like, oh, you're flying in from Long Island. Oh, I have a cousin that lives out there. And that kind of lends itself to an instant connection. So I I think one of the opportunities for this is like to that point, like if you carpool your attendees that came on the same flight, like they're going to have to talk to each other, or maybe not, but probably they will. So I think just like opportunities like that are a little more organic, that you aren't necessarily having a full-on event for, but you're facilitating an environment where they feel open to connect, I think is a really powerful tool as well.
Emily, do you think that a welcome to newbies type of event is a little too much like pointing the finger, or do you think that it helps them to kind of come together and go into the big event together because they're new?
I have mixed feelings on this. In one aspect, I absolutely love like a first timers meetup of some sort. Because then you do get to know people who are also kind of in the same boat as you. But as a Gen Zer, I'm tired of the stereotypical reception where it's like grab a drink, we're just all going to stand around and chat. With that said, IMEX does a really good job with this. They started doing it, I think, last year, where they do in the morning, they have like 45 minutes or an hour before the show floor opens, and they walk everybody around the show floor, walk them around the space. I think that that's a really perfect time for people to get used to a huge show, especially if it's their first one ever. And then also get to know people at the same time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be first timers that are going. I went just because I was curious what it was. But so I think that that's a really good opportunity to kind of, if you're putting on a larger show, you could do something like that. If it's a smaller program or event, you could do a reception, but I would, and I hate being that person that doesn't have a solution, but I don't have a solution yet for what that new timers reception looks like. I think it's going to be some trial and error over the next couple years trying to define what that looks like for them as the generations, as we see the older generation kind of retire out and more Gen Zers come into the picture.
Michelle, have you hosted anything similar?
Yeah, I would agree. I'm kind of hit or miss on this. I think something that could be done maybe instead is more of like a mentor program. So more of assigning these new members with someone that's been there for a while, right? And them really, again, having some more intimate conversations about what they're learned, make them feel comfortable. You know, do you need an extra map of how to get somewhere? Do you need, you know, let me tell you how long you're going to spend in each session or event or whatever. I do think some, you know, pre-event communication can help. But I do think when people feel like, again, they're more comfortable, I think we've hinted on this a lot, they're going to engage more. I also think recognizing them is important. So maybe it's not a newbie event, but it's recognizing them throughout the events, in print, on video, in, you know, pre-event engagement, on a menu card at the lunch station. Also maybe doing surveys or questionnaires with the newbies to make them feel like they're automatically, you know, new to the event, new to the group, and we care about them, care about their thoughts. I think that's really important. You can learn a lot of great stuff from those newbies. So I think incorporating them that way can work a little better than I think Patricia said, you know, all right, come grab a coffee or a drink and everyone's awkward and, you know, it just doesn't work well. So why, you know, spend the funds on something else?
Those are great ideas. And you mentioned pre-event. So do the under 40 crowd expect more pre-event engagement, do you think? Like BR tours or behind the scenes type of content? What comes to mind, Patricia, for pre-event for you for like the younger crowd?
Um, I would say maybe this isn't something you have to like allocate a lot of time and budget to. I think we're in a time where our attention is constantly divided. You have like four screens in front of you at any given moment. And a lot of the times, like, I don't think we have attendees full audience until they're actually on site with us. Um, so I wouldn't say, I would say less is more when it comes to pre-event engagement. Certainly, I want to know the agenda and what I'm walking into, but I don't I don't think it has to be an area where you focus a lot of time, but I'm interested to hear if Michelle or Emily have done anything that they've been super successful with.
Emily, have
I
you?
love behind the scenes content. But I think that's just because I'm kind of like a social media junkie. So I love stuff like that. I think something to consider though in putting in like know before you goes is like a map of the convention center, the hotel, wherever your space is going to be. I think it's really important to put a map because I know I'm one of those people, like if I can't find my way, I'm like immediately anxious. I then am like going into the event like unsettled. So I think that equipping them beforehand with kind of what the space is going to look like, not necessarily VR. I'm totally fine with just like a typical hotel map with a star that says registration is here. So I think just something as simple as that is really important.
Michelle, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I think next gen is really big on their time is valuable. So that's why they want to know information up front. They want to be able to plan. There's a lot of things coming at them. Um, I think, little live chats, pre and post pre-event also can be great. Collecting again questions for people that maybe are going to attend something virtual. What's going to drive them to want to attend? What's going to make them excited when they show up, not just like, oh yeah, I signed up for this. So giving them some of the basics, but not giving everything away but what's going to build their excitement and really resonate with them. What's the why behind why they're going? I think messaging that across social media is a big necessity.
Awesome. So do you feel that Gen Z and next gen are expecting to be wowed by after hours entertainment, or do you think this is just something everybody hopes for, Patricia?
So when you say after hours, like I'm glad Emily brought this up before. Like this is a generation that's comfortable, like sober curious is the term you used. And that's very true. Like um alcohol is probably in a downward trend compared to what it was with other generations. Um, so I would say that's something to note about after hours event, maybe having like a mocktail option or two, or even something focused around it entirely. Um, and then, when we go to these events, right, like a lot of the times you don't necessarily get out of the hotel or convention center. So I think it's really cool when after hours entertainment incorporates something that has to do with the area that you're in. I was at a conference the other week and I was in Texas and I didn't see the outside of my hotel, but the conference organizer brought in armadillo races and we did like a spice rub making workshop. Like I felt like I did a little bit. So experiential stuff like that is always really appreciated.
Emily, I saw you smiling. I know.
I'm from Houston, and so like the armadillo races are a total Texas thing. I'm pretty sure every hotel offers that as like part of their things they can do. I think it's hilarious because the armadillos are so fun. But Patricia, you're right. It's something you can't experience somewhere else. I mean, it's kind of like when I rode camels in the desert. Like, where else am I going to ride a camel? Um,
Right.
so yeah, I just love for the after hours. It once again, I feel like I have mixed feelings on this. Part of me absolutely loves a great after hours event, especially if there's like a great band or a headliner or something that's really going to wow me. I'm not gonna lie, if there's not something that's gonna wow me, chances are I'm gonna go back to my room by 9:30 and go to bed. Because that's just who I am. Like I will prioritize my sleep over staying out until 1 o'clock in the morning. Now I don't know if everybody else in my generation is like me. But I think a lot of us have wellness and like physical well-being in mind. And so even when we are traveling, most of us are still working out. We're still prioritizing that first thing in the morning. So I I think it could go 50-50.
Michelle, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, it seems like after hours, immersive type of stuff, like local stuff, like really that kind of versus just a cocktail party seems to be the theme here.
Yeah, I mean, how do they experience the culture of the city or place they're in, right? And I think it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't need to be after hours till midnight, 2 a.m., right? I think it's these small bursts of an hour, stop by, it's casual. Are you, ordering in like pizza, dessert from a local restaurant or something for those that maybe don't want to leave the hotel, right? But you're getting that experience and the why behind. Whether it is mocktails or cocktails, you could throw it into like a bourbon tasting, right? So they're not drinking full drinks, but they're getting a taste and a story behind a distillery or something like that in the area. I think spinning off after the wellness, it could be kind of like a reset and recharge. It could be bringing in a nutritionist to kind of just talk, get, kind of tips and tricks. So it doesn't have to be your cocktail party with, 3 hours of dancing and band and all of that. So just a different way and a shorter way to engage. Yeah.
Right. And it probably depends on the destination as well, right? So, next question, are you seeing a trend of conversation starters on badges to help next gen attendees chat about their interests and approach people more easily? Are you seeing any of this, Patricia?
Yeah, and I like this. And actually, like if you've ever been to a Hard Rock hotel, they've been doing this for years, right? They have their favorite musician or band on their name badge. And I've always thought that was a really easy way to find common ground with someone or talk to someone you wouldn't normally. So I love this trend for events. I think it's really cool. I think back to our question before about like we were talking about what you could do to acknowledge newbies. I feel like something like that on a badge is really awesome too, because if I am new to an event and I see that and I'm like, oh gosh, they don't know anyone either. Okay, like that's an easy introduction. Um, so yeah, I have been seeing this and I do really like this.
Emily, have you been seeing this in meetings? And does it appeal to you to have something like that?
Yeah, so I in the past have worked with Jabber Yak. They are a great small business. I mean, I don't think they're small anymore. I feel like I see them everywhere, but they started out as a small business, creating those name badges. And personally, I love them because I love seeking out anybody who has dog on their badge so that I can connect with them and talk about our dogs. Because it's like once you find your people, you could talk for hours on something that you're both really passionate about. So I absolutely love the badge idea. My boss actually sent me something years ago. She had taken a picture. She was at an event and they did this similar thing, but it was pre-printed on like tote bags. So it would be like a bag that you carried around your conference. And I think that's also a really good idea. So just different ways, whether it's a name badge or a physical item that's got something like that on that, I think is a great like icebreaker because I will approach anybody that says that they like dogs.
Michelle, are you seeing these things as well?
Yeah, Emily, I love that you brought up the tote bag because I think swag is something we haven't really mentioned either, but like that concept of you getting something and being involved in this group or event or whatever and having that on there is amazing. But yeah, I think the more people can interact with people, the more they're going to learn, the more they're going to network. We've also seen people grouping people by like similar backgrounds or interests or putting on their badges the number of years they've attended like said conference or event or number of years they've been in an industry, how many times have they been to a city. All right, you go up to someone that's been there for 10 years, you're like, hey, what's your favorite hangout, what's your favorite restaurant, someone that's been there first time, okay, you're that person that's been there 10 years, you can go and talk to them and give them advice. So The more we can encourage the conversation, I think the better. So I'm all for it.
Absolutely agree. As far as networking here, let's talk about froligs. I don't know if you've heard the term. It's like friends who are also colleagues. So do next gen attendees prefer to travel with their froligs versus going alone? I'm going to start with Emily. What do you think about?
I love it. I feel like it's kind of like your emotional support person. They know you, you know them. It's easier to start interacting with somebody when you kind of have that extra person. Um, but I don't think that it's necessary. I think when it's convenient, it works out well. Um, I don't know if anybody is in a place where they could offer like a frolic discount, where it's like you register and then you could get 10% off the next person from your company, to kind of one, encourage more attendance, but two, give that person their person and make people more comfortable. But that's just an idea. I like it, but it's not like an end all be all for me.
Right. Patricia, what are your thoughts on frolics?
I I think it's really awesome to be able to, I definitely spread the word about events that I get invited to. I'm happy when someone else can send someone my way because they know someone. So I think it's appreciated on both ends. And we've been talking about these immersive experiential events and things at events, and I think there's no better way to experience those things than with someone else. Like, that's kind of where memories are made, even if there's someone you met at the conference or someone that came with you. um I love that. I love a Frau League.
I know it's such a cool little term. What are your thoughts on the matter, Michelle?
Yeah, I think it's more fun, right? I think you can be yourself. I also think you can almost learn more by having someone with you. You're always going to have those side conversations, with that person, but then the two of you are going to meet and talk to more people than just you being there alone. And then you can share that knowledge after the fact and hopefully expand your network, expand your learning. So, absolutely.
Brilliant. So do you think event planning will continue to change in the future? This is a kind of like an of course question, but how do you think event planning will kind of morph in the coming years? Emily, what are your thoughts on this?
I think as event planners, we're just going to have to continue to be flexible and pivot, as much as I do not like using that term after COVID. But um, I think this generation, we're different. We want stuff that's out of the box. We want to push the envelope on things. And so I think that it's really important to embrace that. Of course, that's going to take time, but I think that, trying new things, even if you just try it once and it doesn't work, don't do it again. But you can at least say that you tried it. And I think that's what is the most important, is just as event planners having that curiosity to try something.
Michelle, what would you like to add about the event planning of the future?
Yeah, I think, ongoing learning and adapting it's a must, right? It's just part of the norm now. I think personal development, education, enhancing skill set is absolutely needed. I also think trends change, people's likes and dislikes change, even every year, we're always looking at like, what are the hot colors of Benjamin Moore? What is fashion putting out? What's in the movies? Like all of these things drive really events and what people like and their tastes are. So we're forced really to do that anyway. So it's almost a good thing.
Patricia, do you see any trends coming up for, I mean, we're already halfway through the year, if you can believe it. I mean, 2025 is half over. Do you see any trends going into the next part of the year, next year?
I think we touched upon some good ideas for trends in the conversations that we had throughout these other questions. I think when we talk about change, it would also be remiss not to like nod to AI, right? Like, we're in the midst of this technology boom, and you know, we can use that to our advantage. Like, I already see it as a tool to like be able to accomplish so much of probably what falls a little bit outside of my scope, just get it done in a really fast way so that I have the time to really focus on those personal and creative touches that we were talking about. So yes, it's changing. I think it's changing for the better. And it's a really awesome tool. I know not all companies are as encouraging of it. But I think they need to be if they want to keep up with change because it's kind of that forbidden fruit if you let it be, right? Like if you say don't use this, I think you need to provide an alternative that people can use, be it like a paid subscription for a tool that keeps your data private or something like that, because I think it will help accelerate change for the better.
I think AI is inevitable in every industry, and in our industry, absolutely. I mean, there's no getting past it, and you can't, cover the sun with your fingers, as they say in some cultures. But Emily, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on AI?
I use it all the time. Um, there's been some really great AI plugins on ChatGPT that I've come across. There was one that I recently just tried out that is for event timelines. Now, granted, it's not like, the most detailed, but it gives you somewhere like a jumping point. So you can start getting more detailed from there, but you're not having to sit and type everything out from scratch. So I think that is there's so many ways that you can use it to your advantage in planning. I also like to use it a lot as just kind of like an idea driver. So like sometimes I'll just start typing in my ideas and it formulates my thoughts in a way that help it make more sense when I'm trying to make a business case on something. So yeah, I absolutely love it.
Michelle, are you using AI in your planning?
Yeah, I think it's a great resource to help you with efficiency, right? To be like, I've got all these ideas and thoughts and swirling in my head. Let's throw it together and see what happens, right? And when you do that, I think you can take a step back and be like, all right, what I was gonna say or what was in my head maybe could be more fine-tuned. So it kind of gives you a chance to pause and reflect and be like, all right, how can I actually make this better for those that I need to? So I think we've come a long way already. I think there's a long way to go and how it's being used, but absolutely use it.
I think it's a definite tool to be used and managed and not to be afraid of it, right? We have a little bit of time here for some Q&A, and we just had one pop in here specifically to this. It says, what AI tool did you use for timelines, Emily?
I am going to post it in the chat because it's a link. But it'll link you directly to ChatGPT and it'll give you prompts as to what you need to input. And of course, the more you input, the more that's going to come out of it. But like I said, it's just a starting point, but it's still very helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we have another question here that I think Michelle, kind of down your alley. Is there a national company you can recommend that composts leftover food, or an organization that will pick up leftover food that can be donated?
So I wouldn't say nationally. I think it's a little more specific to your region and your city that you're in. Based on where you're located, we can always connect and happy to share some vendor sources, but it's really going to be region specific because there's also some kind of rules and regulations around it as well.
Okay, so how would somebody go about finding that sort of company? You Google, what would you Google?
Yeah, I mean, as simple as composting is one, or food donations,
Okay.
special event food donations, kind of starting there.
Wonderful, thank you. So I think we're kind of wrapped up here. Does anybody have anything they would like to add as to the topic of Gen Z and next gen meetings? Patricia?
I was going to touch on the note about composting. If you are having an event at a Hyatt hotel, they actually have a whole team that works on wellness and sustainability, and your sales rep should be happy to connect you to them. They have a bunch of tactics that they use even before food waste gets to food waste, such as like smaller plates and kind of tricking the eye like that. And then they have great resources they can offer in that way as well. So that might be a good place to start.
That's a great tip. Anybody have anything else to add before we wrap up? Then I think that we are going to say thank you to everybody. There's a short survey at the end of this webinar before you guys leave, attendees. So we'd love for you to fill it out and give us some feedback on our ideas today and our input and our wonderful hosts. I mean, our wonderful speakers here. I'm the host, and yes, I'm wonderful. Thank you very much. But thank you again to our wonderful speakers, Patricia, Michelle, and Emily. Thank you, attendees. Thank you, everybody. And I hope you got a lot out of this. I thought it was a very, very good webinar. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.